Hi, this is Mike Young of Athletic Lab Sports Performance Training Center. In this next segment, we're going to talk about hurdle mobility drills. I like to use these exercises as a way of strengthening the hips and enhancing mobility. The hips are the engine of sprinting fast, so we want to make sure that they're both adequately warm and physically prepared for the task at hand. We're going to take the athlete through a variety of drills following an active dynamic warm-up, sometimes used interchangeably with sprint drills, sometimes used following the sprint drills, and leading right into the actual sprint session. These exercises are fantastic at strengthening the hips and enhancing mobility. You'll find a lot of athletes can't do them correctly. What we're looking for here is appropriate postural alignment and adequate movement of the limbs. We want to make sure that the athlete is going over the hurdle when requested and not around it. And we want to make sure that they're observing appropriate postural integrity. So we don't want to see kyphotic positions. We don't want to see them cheating. We don't want to see that knee move into valgus. So this is a great check of mobility to ensure that that athlete is appropriately prepared to sprint. We can also use it as a readiness test to gain insight into whether that athlete is fully prepared to sprint. One other thing that we can learn from hurdle mobility is whether there are asymmetries on the right and left, or internal and external rotators of the hip. You'll find that a lot of movement patterns don't give you much insight into this, but the hurdle mobility exercises will. So now let's take our athlete through a variety of hurdle mobility exercises. Darian, let's start with a hurdle walkover. Again, we're looking for postural alignment here, so I'll ask that the athlete put their hands on their head. We want to see an upright posture and complete range of motion through the hips. In our next drill, we'll do an alternating walkover. In this one, the athlete's going to place one foot in between every hurdle, and it's a little bit more dynamic, slightly plyometric in nature. So go ahead and do our next one here, an alternating walkover. Again, we want to see upright postural alignment, that knee move through a large range of motion, little bit of a hop as she goes. In our next drill, we'll do an alternating dynamic walkover. In this one, Darian's going to place one foot in between every hurdle, and she's going to have a little bit of a bounce to it. So there's a slightly plyometric nature to this activity. We want to see an upright posture and that hip move through a great range of motion. Let's go ahead and do an alternating walkover, Darian. Now we'll do a lateral side skip. On this one, I want to see the athlete get the knee up in the chest. We'll slightly open up the hamstring. Because we're moving laterally, we'll start incorporating some different styles of foot contacts. So let's go ahead and do a lateral side skip. She's coming over the top of the hurdle here, very similar to the A skip action. We're opening up the hips, very dynamic, helping prepare us to sprint. In our last exercise in this sampling of hurdle mobility drills, we'll do an over-under. On this one, Darian is going to step over the hurdle with one leg and then through with the other leg. This is a great opportunity to look at dynamic mobility in the ankle, knee, and hip, as well as get insight into her balance, because we're going to ask that she place only one foot contact in between every hurdle. So let's go ahead and do an over-under here, Darian. On sided exercises such as this, we're looking for symmetry on the right and the left side. So this particular one, she's stepping over with the left and through with the right. Typically, my prescription for hurdle mobility is 2 sets of about 8 hurdles. Almost always choose 4 to 5 exercises that allow us to open up the hips and hamstrings and help prepare us to sprint. Sometimes I use this as an alternative to sprint drills. Other times I'll use it in addition to sprint drills prior to the sprint session. Now that the athlete is good and warm and we've done our hurdle mobility drills, the athlete is ready to sprint. Let's go ahead and take a rep, Darian.